Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by lynda.com.
Today on Variant, I review DC's new animated movie, Justice League Throne of Atlantis. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than I really want DC to make an animated movie based off The Killing Joke. I'm your host, Arris. Longtime watchers of Variant know I review every single DC animated movie that's released, because I'm a huge fan of their animated movies, but also because a lot of you guys asked for my 2 cents on every single one that's released. So let's see what I thought about their latest installment, Justice League Throne of Atlantis. Before I get into this review, I want to let you guys know I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free, but if I'm going to say something that I think may be a spoiler, I'll warn you beforehand. Basically, you can watch this without worrying I'm going to blurt out something that's a spoiler. With that out of the way, Justice League Throne of Atlantis is DC Comics and Warner Bros. Animation's latest animated movie that's loosely based off of Geoff Johns and Ivan Reis's New 52 Throne of Atlantis story arc. The movie also continues their animated movie universe that was started in Justice League War, which continued in Son of Batman, and now in Throne of Atlantis. Before I give you my thoughts on the movie, however, I'm going to give you a brief rundown of what the Throne of Atlantis storyline is all about in the comics. And I just gotta say, it's one of my personal favorite Justice League stories from the New 52 thus far. Geoff Johns and Ivan Reis did a great job putting the Atlanteans at war with the surface world. There was just so much great action along with great art, storytelling, and some twists along the way. It's a 6-issue story arc that crosses over between the Aquaman and Justice League titles. In the comic version of Throne of Atlantis, King Orm, aka Ocean Master, believes Atlantis is under attack by the surface world, who declares war with them. Aquaman is already a member of the Justice League at this point and is torn between his brother and the Justice League. The Justice League finds itself overwhelmed as the east coast of the United States is swallowed by the ocean and the Atlantean royal troops who are looking to destroy humankind. So of course they have to figure out how to stop Aquaman's brother and all of Atlantis from destroying every single city on Earth. Now that's the comic version of Throne of Atlantis, but for the animated movie they took lots of liberties, changing things around in the story or just adding completely new aspects that weren't even in the comic. One of the most notable changes is Shazam playing a big part in the movie and already being a permanent member of the Justice League, when in the comic storyline he is barely in it minus a panel or two. But whatever, he did become a permanent member of the Justice League soon after this storyline in the comics, so it works. Plus, I'm not one of those people who are like, oh my god, it's not exactly like the comic it was based off of, so I hate this. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. So Shazam being in this movie didn't bother me, and I'm a huge Shazam fan anyway, so I always welcome the chance to see him on screen or in a comic. And while I'm on the topic of Shazam, I've seen a lot of people saying that Shazam is out of character in this movie, which isn't entirely true. Yes, that would be the case for pre-New 52 Shazam, but in the New 52, he is portrayed differently, having a comedic aspect to him, which is what these movies are basing the characters from. For instance, in Justice League issue 31 of the New 52, Shazam is cracking jokes with Cyborg, saying Aquaman smells fishy and that monitor duty is boring and that all he wants to do is play Xbox. He even wants to get the Watchtower its own ping pong table and then even uses his magic to create one. So you can say you don't like the New 52 Shazam, but you can't say these movies aren't portraying him correctly, since they're meant to portray the new version of Shazam. And I personally like the New 52 version of Shazam, and I like the classic Captain Marvel. Who says I'm not allowed to like both interpretations? Anyway, I felt like the movie was trying to fit way too much into such a short film. The movie was only like an hour and 7 minutes long, and within that time they tried to fit in Aquaman's origin, which took place in a completely different storyline in the comics. Which I understand they had to do that since they were using this movie as Aquaman's introduction into their animated universe. But at the same time, if you're going to include all these other aspects that weren't even in the comic you're loosely basing the movie off of, make the movie longer so everything doesn't feel so crammed. Now, besides me thinking this movie was way too short and crammed, they also left out some of my favorite moments from the comics. Which, spoiler for anyone who hasn't read the Throne of Atlantis storyline, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, those few moments would be Aquaman grabbing Batman by the throat like a bamf because the League is threatening to arrest his brother Orm, or when he punches Superman straight across the ocean, which that right there should tell you Aquaman is no chump, so I'm sad that didn't make the film. And lastly, they left out my favorite page from the whole story, which is when Aquaman defeats Ocean Master and yells to all the Atlanteans, "I am your king." I can't believe they left it out. That was like the best part of the whole story. Now at this point you may be thinking, whoa, you didn't like this movie at all, did you, Arris? And that's not true. There are some cool aspects to the movie. I thought the action was great, the animation is growing on me, even though I would have preferred more of a Flashpoint Paradox or a Batman under the Red Hood style, but it's kind of like the Legend of Korra's animation, so I'm down with that as well. The voice cast is pretty much the same as Justice League War, minus a few changes here and there. Matt Lanter voiced Aquaman and did a great job, I thought. Speaking of Aquaman, we finally got to see him call a great white shark out of the water to eat someone, which I was super excited about because it's just freaking cool. We were supposed to see it in Justice League War, since that's the storyline that happened in the comics, but Aquaman wasn't in that movie movie, so obviously we couldn't see that happen. I also like Shazam and Cyborg's relationship. Like I said earlier, it's similar to how Jeff Johns writes them in the comics, where Cyborg is like the straight man and Shazam is cracking jokes all the time and just wanting to play ping pong. They also give us a pretty accurate New 52 Aquaman origin, so for people who haven't read the New 52 Aquaman title, 1, you need to, and 2, this is a pretty good adaptation of it. There's also some other stuff I liked about the movie and some cool cameos like Steel, but I don't want to say too much and be all spoilerific. And yes, I know spoilerific isn't a real word. As happy as I am with DC setting their animated movie universe within the New 52, because I personally enjoy the New 52, I still love pre-New 52 continuity because frankly, that's what I grew up on. Plus, I still want to get movies based off of older iconic stories like we've had in the past, like The Dark Knight Returns, Flashpoint, Batman Year One, and so on. I mean, how awesome would it be to get a Blackest Night animated movie, or even The Killing Joke? That would be a dream come true for me. Now, I've said several different things I didn't like about the movie and some stuff I did like about the movie, but to sum up all my thoughts, I thought the movie was just okay. Not great, just okay. Because even with all its faults, it still entertained me. It's nowhere near on par as some of the other DC animated movies like Batman Under the Red Hood, Flashpoint Paradox, or Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, but I also don't think it's as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. So I'm going to give Justice League Throne of Atlantis a 6.5 out of 10. Any DC fan or Aquaman fan should watch it because, well, it's still entertaining, at least I thought so. Like I just said, I know a lot of people didn't like this movie, which is fine, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I even said I don't think it's the best movie they've ever done, or amazing by any means, but it still kept the overall theme of the comic it was based off of. Not as well as past DC animated movies have done, but nonetheless, we still get the gist. So if you're a fan of DC animated movies or the New 52, I think it's worth a watch. Lynda.com is an online learning company with more than 77,000 video tutorials that teach software, creative, and business skills. Memberships start at $25 per month and provides an unlimited 24/7 access to top quality video courses taught by expert instructors with real-world experience. Learn anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace, from bite-sized video tutorials to comprehensive courses in web design, program design, photography, business, audio and video, 3D, and animation. And you can learn on the go with their optimized mobile site or free iPhone and iPad app for members. Try Lynda.com for free for 7 days by visiting lynda.com/variants and get some knowledge into your brain. Did you know the reason for Stan Lee putting a hyphen between Spider-Man was so that when people saw the title on a comic book, they wouldn't confuse it with Superman? It dates all the way back to when he created the webhead back in 1962. At the time, DC Superman was one of the biggest comic book characters out there, and Lee was worried that the new hero who wears the similar blue and red colors and has a name that starts with the letter S would be glossed over as too similar. That was when he inserted the hyphen so that the cover of the Spider-Man comics would have 2 words broken up, creating a distinct look from Superman. And of course, the hyphen has lasted till this very day. The Batman vs. Robin trailer premiered last week, and it's been getting some pretty good buzz around the internet, which I think is for good reason because it does look awesome, and the Court of Owls makes their animated debut in the movie. Now, the movie isn't based off of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Court of Owls storyline, it's just using them as the villains in the movie, because quite frankly, the Court of Owls concept is one of the best ideas to come out of the Batman mythos within like the last 2 decades. But let's just hope when Damian fights Batman, they don't overpower him like they did when he fought Deathstroke in Son of Batman, because let's face it, he would have not been able to beat Deathstroke like he did in the movie in the comics. In a nutshell, I'm super excited for this movie because the trailer looks amazing and I always welcome the possibility of another great Batman animated movie. First up for Wednesday, January 21st is Superior Iron Man issue 4. Daredevil discovers the secret of Tony's success. How far will Tony go to stop Matt Murdock from revealing the shocking secret to the world? Now we have Batman Superman issue 18. Superman uncovers the identity of the unseen terror that has been destroying targets related to him while Batman seeks to protect Lois Lane. Here we have Batman and Robin issue 38. Damian is back like I said he would be when they killed him off, because no A-list character ever stays permanently dead in comics. But there is a new dynamic for this crime-fighting duo now that Damian has superpowers of his own. And finally, we have Justice League issue 38. The Amazo virus infects Batman, and we find out how the Caped Crusader deals with being infected. And that will bring another episode of Variant to a close. But remember, you can always like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. Also, if you want to be one of the videos I show every week at the end of every episode, follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones. Every Friday, I tweet out a question of the week to which you guys send me a video response, which I use for the following week's episode. But the details on where and how to send the video are in the description below. With that said, I'll see you guys next week when I talk about all things comics.
My favorite DC movies are Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, Batman Assault on Arkham, and Justice League War. as well as Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
My favorite DC comic animated movie would have to be The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2.
Favorite DC animated movie? Batman Under the Red Hood.
My favorite DC animated movie would either be Flashpoint Paradox or Justice League War.
Hey, Arris. My favorite DC animated movie is probably Under the Red Hood. Such great action, acting. I mean, everyone's gonna say it, but I love it.
My favorite DC animated movie is The Flashpoint Paradox.
My favorite DC animated movie has got to be Batman Under the Red Hood, because I'm a huge fan of the Red Hood. I just really think the movie was so fantastic, especially with the voice actors, and the storyline was just great.